Simplified Chaos, episode 25.
Life is beautiful and full of chaos.
And it can get slightly out of hand if that shit's not tamed.
We're here to share how to simplify the little things to start leading a more purposeful life.
This is Simplified Chaos.
Hey, beautiful listeners. Welcome to Simplified Chaos. This is Jillian, one of your hosts, and I'm with my husband, Nicholas.
What's going on, folks? Episode 25, Jilly. 25. It's a pretty big milestone.
It's a quarter.
It's a quarter of 100.
Good job, Nick.
Yes. But we have a very exciting episode today. What are we diving into?
Today's episode is brought to you by our listeners. This episode is Q&A.
Ooh, ask us anything.
We're going to be talking about things about food all the way to how we met.
Yeah.
So we have
You're going to get the dirt on us today.
It's good dirt.
Well, duh.
It's some quality soil.
Yeah. But before we dive into that, as always, we want to talk a little bit gratitude. Jilly. What are you grateful for besides that lovely bee's knees that you're sipping on there?
That is quite refreshing.
Yes, it looks like it.
I guess because my school year is slowly coming to an end, and
Yeah.
tomorrow is our last day with the kids. I have such an appreciation for my principal, my leader, my boss, Miss Hill.
Wow.
And if she ever listens to this podcast, you rock, Miss Hill.
Yeah, Miss Hill, you're awesome. I hear about you all the time.
I think I sometimes take for granted that I have a boss, a leader that accepts me for who I am and gives me boundaries, but still lets me be who I want, lets me do what I want to do and experiment with things that I want to experiment with.
Right.
And she trusts me, and we have a great relationship. And, you know, we have our end of the year conference every year, and she just said some really, really nice things. And it's, you know, it's nice. I feel like I'm doing the right thing with my teaching and the direction it's going, but it's always nice to hear that feedback. Like, I see you, you're doing a great job. Like, keep it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very grateful for my boss, and I'm happy to go to work every day, and she makes it possible. Plus the kids.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's great. Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but I kind of smiled when you said your gratitude segment, because mine is basically the same.
No
Very
way.
similar. Yeah. And for a
Stop
different reason.
copying
I
me.
know, right? But this one's for a different reason. I'm fortunate to work in a place where we have a lot of flexibility. And one of the things was, tomorrow's your last day of school, but it's also Lucille's 1-year doctor appointment. And obviously you want to be with your kids. It's their last day. It's their last day to be with them. So, I'm lucky to be in a place where there's flexibility and there's really no questions asked. I asked my boss, hey, can I work from home on Friday? Sure, no problem. Didn't need an explanation. I felt like I owed it to her anyway. But she's like, really, you don't have to explain yourself to me. Go take care of what you need to take care of. And it's nice to know that I'm trusted and that they trust other people in the organization to work from home. And even though I'm going to be gone, an hour and a half, during the work time, they know that I will either start working early or work late or maybe make up the hours over the weekend. So it's just really, especially as a parent now, it's nice to have that flexibility. And I was actually reading an article, like part of what I do is curate content for our social media on our company's website. And part of what they say is, like, parents, people who have kids tend to stay at their jobs a lot longer and dig in, when they do have that flexibility. So I see it.
Yeah, well, I think that speaks a lot to us too. Like, if both of our bosses trust us, give us flexibility, I feel like we must be doing something right. Yeah. Like, we give it 110%.
Always. Brendan Fraser. I saw what you did there.
Oh.
Bedazzled.
Is that what the movie is?
I think so.
110%. Yeah, when he's like a basketball player.
He's a basketball player sweating his ass off.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're throwing down there.
I didn't even think about that movie, but you're absolutely right.
So anyways, it's time for our listeners to ask us anything. And we have some questions.
I'm excited about this.
Yes. And I think the first one should go to you.
Okay.
I think you're going to have a better answer for this one than I would, but this is from Rachel Clara. She says, food shopping is my fave, and I tend to stockpile items or let them go bad. How do you stick to buying only the food you will use?
So I feel like we talked about this on our meal prepping episode,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah.
But
we can dive into it a little bit more.
I think one of the main things that I guess the reason why we are so good at buying only what we need, and it wasn't always like that. It was
No.
very challenging. Things would go bad. We would throw out food, and it really broke my heart. And it would like, this is the problem. Like, how do we change it? And we started giving ourselves boundaries. We had to create rules. So the rules that we created for our home was that we have to let our fridge go empty before we buy more food. And it was really hard to stick to that.
Yeah.
And I will say that meal planning helps a lot. Like meal planning, Monday through Thursday, we plan out our dinner meals and our lunch meals. And we only buy for that. That's all we buy for. We make a shopping list just for those things. There's no extra things. I'm not browsing and buying anything. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Let me try this. It's really like I stick to the script.
Yeah.
Because also of our budget. Like I want to buy intentionally with the money that we have allotted for food. And we have a pretty big budget for food because it's a priority.
We like food.
Yeah, good food, good us.
Yeah.
You know, health is wealth, but we stick to whatever's on that shopping list, and I really don't deviate too much. And then, like I said, when it gets to the weekends and we start to get sparse and things are scarce, it's like, all right, let's look in our freezer, let's look in our pantry, what can we use up? And it helps spark some creativity in us too. And we make up concoctions that sometimes are like, I don't know if this is going to work, but it ends up turning out pretty good. But we're really good now at finding scraps of food or leftovers and finding new ways to utilize them. And that has helped so much. Like we don't buy more food until the leftovers are gone. It's like a new rule in our home.
Yeah. And we understand that certain foods that we buy, go bad pretty quickly, and we tend to use them up quickly as
Like
well.
produce, yeah.
Exactly. So, just going and understanding that, yes, you're going to have to go to the store once a week. You may have to make another trip, but really, I think once you get into the swing of things and you understand and you have that schedule for the week, you know what meals you're planning for lunch, you know what meals you're planning for dinner. You're using leftovers that you have for dinner for part of your meal preps for your lunch. I mean, it's really, at this point, it's almost a second thought. Like we know exactly what we are doing. And yes, sometimes, you do have to be creative, but it's just, it's
That's what's
a
fun about
habit
it.
now.
I like
and
that.
you just have to,
Scarcity
you have to roll it.
sparks
Yeah.
creativity. I like that.
Yeah.
And now that my mom's watching Lucille, or she's been watching Lucille, like even my mom's gotten
Her creativity is
but it's so
through
cool.
the charts right now.
Right? But she knows our rhythm now, and because it's like a habit and a routine, like she knows, like, oh hey, I used up those peppers before they went bad in this rice, and I'm like, that's really cool, Mom.
Yeah.
Like she picks up on our routine, and I'm excited because if my mom's picking up on it, then Lucille's gonna just like chime right in when she's old enough, and she's gonna pick up on the kind of like the habits or the rules that we've set for the home. Like, nothing goes to waste, and we use what we have and figure out a new way to use it. And I'm excited to like pour over into Lucille all of these like fun rules we've made. But yeah, I mean, it's helped with our budget. It's helped with our sanity, because it was really disheartening seeing food go to waste. Like I
It really is.
And what's even cooler is that once your fridge is like pretty much empty, it makes cleaning your fridge more frequent and that much easier. Like the other weekend I think our hydrator was like pretty empty with, we used up most of the fruit, and I was like, Nick, I need you to vacuum out these crumbs. And like vacuuming the fridge was like
Took 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes it that much easier that you don't have to remove all this stuff. It's like, hey, just stick the vacuum cleaner in here and like clean out some of these crumbs and we're good to go. Put the fresh
The
new
same
groceries
thing
in.
with the pantry. Like we can see, because our pantry's not overloaded with stuff, we can see what's in there, and we know what we can use, what we need to throw out, and hopefully we're not throwing out anything. I think the things that stay in there too long might be like chips or something like that, but not like
just because we don't
Yeah,
eat chips a
because
lot.
we
but
don't eat 'em a lot.
Yeah, our pantry definitely.
But we usually find a way to make nachos out of them or something like that so that we eat them up.
The pantry definitely used to be a black hole. Like we don't know what's in there.
Yeah.
We don't know how long it's been in there. But I think we've gotten pretty good at like taking inventory. Like, let's see what's in the pantry. Can we use this up? Let's try to use this up today. And we've gotten more creative with how to use things that we're like, listen, we have to use this up. This isn't going to waste. And I've liked our new rhythm. I think it's fun and it's still healthy at the same time.
Absolutely. Anything else you wanted to say about food shopping before we move on to our next question?
No, I think I pretty much covered it.
So the next listener has a couple questions, and I think we can tackle one of these at a time. But Leanne Metzer asks, what have those around you taught you contributed to your philosophy of life? And I like this question because it's not asking us who has taught us, but it's asking about those around us, because I feel like we do learn from everybody that we are around.
True.
So, I think, we're all about simplification and being intentional. And part of what we do with our friends, people that we're in contact with, is, we ask them what's working with a certain thing and what's not working. But most importantly, I think we want to find out why. If for example, if like there's too many toys coming in the house, why is there too many toys coming in the house? And it's like, oh, well, the grandparents are bringing them in, and it's like, okay, how can we prevent our parents from bringing in too many toys in the house? And it's, we've figured out a way to have those conversations. So because we're trying to simplify things, because we're being more intentional, when we see things that we like, or we see things that might not fit our philosophy, we try to get to the bottom of it.
I really thought about the people that influenced me. So I'm kind of glad she asked this question, because it really made me think about my mom and dad and what attributes they did when raising me. And I kept thinking about my mom, and she was always super open and real with me growing up. And I always thought when I was younger, she was always a little too open. Like, Mom, I don't need to know that. Like, that's crazy. Like, a little too personal. But I can see that, her willingness to be vulnerable and just put it all out there has made me the same way. And the connection that I have with my mom is like undeniable. Like, we are so close because she kept it real. And it makes me think about my philosophy on life. Like, I just want to keep it real, and I don't want to sugarcoat things. And, but I'm not going to be a pessimist about things as well. Like, I'm not going to talk negative about life. I'm just going to be honest and open about what's going on. But she's definitely helped me just communicate very clearly to, you and my coworkers and just people around me. And I feel like she's helped me be my authentic self, which I'm all about. Like, I just want to be me. Like, I don't want to try and fit in and be somebody else. And
right.
I know that in order to be happy, like, you have to be comfortable being yourself. So I really thank my mom for just putting it all out there, even the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just showing me that like perfection is silly, and we all have our own struggles and issues, but that makes us imperfectly perfect.
Right.
And my dad is a little different, but he taught me the importance of self-care. He was super, I don't want to say obsessed, but he's very committed to fitness, and
he makes it a priority.
He does. And so he taught me, and he didn't tell me that, he showed me that. And that's huge. Like, he was working out consistently, or he would walk, or he would run, or he would do something to show me that his body was important to him and keeping it in shape, so that way he had a lot of energy. And my dad is the most energetic person I know.
Yes,
and
he is.
He's still energetic to this day. So he taught me through his actions the importance of self-care, and not to forget about yourself, and that you are number one first before anything else. And both of them combined together, they both showed me the importance of family, that family was always so important to us, and the importance of helping others no matter what. Like, we always were doing something to help other people. And a combination of them both has, I think, attributed to the way I look at life. Like, I want to help others, but I want to be open and honest, and I still want to take care of myself first. So I attribute a lot of my philosophy on life because of my parents. They set that foundation.
100%.
110%.
110%.
And I think also my parents always accepted me for who I was. They never pushed me to be something I wasn't, and they always applauded my creativity. You know, it wasn't like, that's weird, or like, why are you doing that? It was always like, that's cool. Like, you're so creative and keep it up. And look at this. Look how unique this is. Like, my dad always thought, like, when we go shopping, he'd be like, oh my God, look at this hat. It's so different than anything else. Like, he always saw the quirks and the weird things in life. And I love that he pointed that out to me, because it makes me feel like, you know, being normal is overrated. Like, be unique, be different, and don't be afraid to be different.
That's why I fell in love with you, baby.
Oh.
Yeah. No, but to your point, you know, I know that that's true, because not only do you reflect that, but your sister reflects that as well. And she's the same, you know, she's very unique, very creative, cares about other people. That's part of why she's a PTA. She loves working with people and making them feel better. You know, she oftentimes puts herself in front of, you know, her own needs, or puts others in front of her own needs. So, you know, she's, you know, you both are a product of your parents, and they did a great job with both of you.
And I wanted to add too, like, my parents are like foundational. Like, they made the base of me for what I am. But I think what started me questioning things in our life and going against the grain and society was that, it's funny, we just did an episode about why we canceled Netflix, but one piece of value that I got was the Minimalist documentary. When I first watched that, it was kind of mind-blowing, like, the way they question society, and like, they question, why do we have these things, and is it really bringing us joy? So I can attribute the beginning of my simple living journey, or just looking at life with more intention, was definitely after I watched that episode and I started following them on Instagram and listening to their podcast. They really started that whole questioning aspect of, you know, why am I doing this? You know, what's the reason behind it all? And so I think that's kind of what led us kind of to where we are today.
Yeah. So the next part of our question is, ever consider having a guest spotlight on your podcast? And the answer is yes. We would love to do guest spotlights, and we'd even love to have, you know, guests on the podcast. It's really a matter of me figuring out how to do that. But really, I think at this point, I really like that we're having a dialogue with me and you together, because I feel like, you know, we're still learning a lot about each other, even though, you know, we do communicate a lot of things, you know, prior to the podcast, you know, in real life. You know, it's still a way for us to learn about each other, and I feel like it gives our listeners the genuine us, you know, to start off with, and you know, eventually maybe we do start bringing on some guests to kind of bring their standpoint in, and maybe it's people who have influenced us.
And I think we'll know when the time is right. I feel like if motherhood has taught me anything, like, I'll get that feeling that, like, all right, it's time to do this. Like with when to put Lucille in the crib. You know what? It feels right now. Like, for some reason in my body and what's happening, like, it just feels right. Like, let's put Lucille in her crib today. So I feel like we're going to know when the time is right. It's just not right now. But I agree. Like, I'm enjoying just us and the conversations we're having, and that our listeners can get a genuine understanding of who we are, where we've come from, and just the raw stories that we're living through, and the struggles and everything. And but yeah, I can definitely see us. I mean, I love listening to podcasts with guests, because they bring new content and a lot of information that I can apply to my life. So that's definitely in the near future. I'm not sure when, but maybe soon. Yeah. So we'll continue to talk about that and kind of gauge and see where we're at the podcast. All right, next one. You ready? Nicole asked, "What are your love languages?" Love languages. I think I have two. Okay. What are they? Mine are acts of service and physical touch. So what are acts of service? Like, what do you like that I do?
So you've all, and this has happened since like from day one, like, and I think it's part of what you kind of talked about. It was like some of the values that your mom instilled in you, and one of those things is like, she always packed your dad's lunch and cooked and stuff like that. But like to me, I mean, that's it's amazing. Like, you do it, you don't ask for anything, and like, I'll do the dishes and stuff like that. And I feel like you're also kind of an acts of service kind of thing. I know you like the
Oh,
bed.
you think that's my love language?
I think that's one of them. I don't know if it's your,
yeah,
maybe, but I know that you like, the bed being made in the morning. Like, I do the dishes. Like, there's certain things that I know that will please you, and I like doing them because it takes you're doing so much as a mom right now with Lucille. Like, if I can do some of these extra things, I want to do it because I genuinely want to make sure that you're not overwhelmed, but I like doing stuff for you.
Yes.
But then I also like touching you a lot.
I think
and
most
I like to
men
be touched too.
I think it's a trick question. Like, what man doesn't want physical touch in his love
That's
language?
true.
But no, 80% is acts of service for me.
Yeah.
Like, you doing the dishes, vacuuming,
See, we
cleaning
didn't even talk
floors.
about this stuff.
Holy cow!
I know what makes
to
you
me,
tick.
that shows me you care and you love me. I think so. 80% is me it's acts of service for sure, and then I think like the 20% is words of affirmation. And I think this is human in us. We just want to hear a little bit of feedback, and I don't require a lot, but just hearing like a sprinkle of "you look sexy today," or
Babe,
"thanks for cooking this, thanks for cooking this meal." Like, so yeah, definitely when you do things for me, it's mind blowing. Like how much I love you for doing it.
I see you staring at me with the vacuum cleaner in my hand,
and I make sure you're aware of it. Like,
oh yeah, you do.
Yeah, so I feel like that's how you know my love language, just because I just look at you and I'm like, yeah, you're getting late tonight if you're vacuuming.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our love languages.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that you do know your partner's
agree.
love languages,
Yes.
because, I mean, obviously, if you want to have a good relationship, you're going to feed into that and do your best to, make your partner happy.
Yeah. Well, I think this kind of ties into one of those other questions that I don't have on my list that you got in late. I think let's go to that one. Go ahead. And do you have that one up, or do you know what it is off the top of your head?
It was just, how do you keep the romance going
All right.
after you have a baby?
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
Well, definitely being aware of our love languages and doing those small things. I think sometimes people think like that's the grand gestures that make your relationship so wonderful, but I'm not a grand gesture kind of person. Like, I like that you do small things every day. You vacuum on Saturday. It sounds funny. I love you because you vacuum on Saturday, but it's true. You do the dishes when I cook.
Yeah.
You are a partner raising our child. Like, if I do her diaper, you'll do a diaper the next time. It's like this unspoken rhythm that we have of ping-ponging life back and forth. And I love that I don't have to tell you. And if you weren't a person where like you did that, then I would probably have to speak my mind more and communicate, hey, Nick,
Right.
would you mind doing that? But I love that. Or maybe I did communicate in the beginning and you just picked up on it and now you know. So I think just doing those small things that make me happy is what helps keep the romance going. And also because we intentionally plan time for each other. And most of the time it's through date nights.
Yeah, date
which
nights
we
and
had
then
an
Wednesdays.
episode about. And
The designated hump day.
Wednesdays are... our hump
We've talked
days.
about it before.
We have.
Yeah.
Hump days, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
We
We
have to plan sex because it can be chaotic. And
sometimes there are weeks when it just doesn't happen. Life does get overwhelming, or sometimes there's weeks that it happens more than what we intended to. But I don't think we lose sight of that. And I think we talked about doing a postpartum episode eventually about some of your experiences after having Lucille. But I know those first 3 months were challenging.
oh, you're bringing that up.
I mean, that's what the question is, is like, how did
After
you
the
do it
baby.
after the baby and parenting? So, yeah.
Yeah, so are we going in there?
You don't have to. I think we can cover that in postpartum. But I
Okay.
mean, there were some challenges in the first 3 months.
Let's just say I made sure my husband was taken care of, even though I could not perform in certain areas. because of having Lucille. But
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I was showing you the love, even though I still couldn't do certain things.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, really, I don't
Yeah.
think we've deferred too much from when we were prior to Lucille. But you know, we've made it a priority. Like we talk about it. You know, we say, hey,
we work at it.
Yeah,
And I
we
think
do.
some people
It's-
don't view their relationship
Yeah.
as work, but it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a priority, you have to work.
yeah. And
to
I know
keep
there's
it that
nights
way.
where you're just dog tired, and I'm just like, you know what? Another night's fine. Like, I'm not gonna force you to do something when you're dog tired.
You don't want to rate me?
I mean, unless you want me to, but let's not give people the wrong idea.
But yeah, I think overall it's just knowing your partner really well, doing the small things, and working,
Yeah,
practicing
things take work.
every day.
All right. So, Brittany has a couple questions for us.
At Fertility Birth Wellness. ...
Anyways, let's do this one. I think this is a fun one. How did you meet? Jill,
Me?
how did we meet?
Oh gosh. It's kind of a blur.
So yeah,
we
we have no idea how we met.
started playing. So
Well, we knew
I
each
went
other
to high school.
beforehand,
I
yeah.
went to high school with your brother. He was the same age as me, and I knew of you. And then I think let's just cut to the chase. We started playing slow pitch softball together. We were on the same team.
But we had hung out a couple, we had, that for, in Fells Point. That one
Oh,
night.
okay.
Yeah,
So we would go out to
would
bars
see
with
each other a
mutual
couple
friends, and
times.
we'd see each other.
And then before we played softball together, I would try to put my head in a car
Oh, I
and make out with
completely
you.
forgot about
yeah,
that.
you're jumping past a lot
Because
of
your
things.
perspective is different. So I would go out to bars with my girlfriends, and Nick lived in Baltimore, and I really didn't know
I
him
also
that
lived
well.
at the bar across the street from my house.
We're kind of an alcoholic, let's be honest.
Uh,
Anyway, I
it was
would go
my
out.
20s.
I would go out to the bar with my girlfriends, and a couple times I would see Nick, and he was really drunk, and he'd be like trying to make out with me, and I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? I'm like, this is weird.
Instant attraction.
I just think you were horny and trying to get it in. But anyway, so yeah, preface to us playing softball, we would run into each other occasionally, and he would always try to make out with me, which is really weird because I didn't even know Nick that well. So then we started playing slow pitch softball together, and he swears that I was flirting with him when really I was just being myself.
You were definitely flirting with me.
But that's his perspective. So we started playing slow pitch together, and then I think I found out that you kind of liked me through one of our mutual friends.
Yeah.
We went out to a bar in Annapolis, and
Yeah. That's when your sister choked me out.
you and your friend came out to meet us, and Danny was your friend.
Yeah, he still is my
he
friend.
mentioned he still is your friend. He mentioned to me that, like, hey, Nick has a big crush on you. You should dance with him or something. And I was like, really? And I'm like,
I can't
"Oh,
dance either,
okay.
guys. It's pretty bad.
But, to me, it was like, whatever. I thought it was harmless. So, like, we were all drinking, having fun, and we danced and whatever. And I didn't think anything of it. And then for some reason, one day I was going to get sushi for dinner with my cousin. And I still to this day have no idea what prompted me to text message Nick and say, hey, do you want to meet us for sushi? And I still don't know. Like,
Do you know what my reply was?
I know what your reply was.
So
I'm going to the gym. What a
And then you called me and said, sushi's healthy. You should probably come and grab sushi with us.
I still don't know. Like, maybe I really did like you, and I was just
Yeah, you liked me.
I don't know.
All I
I don't
remember is
know.
that when I got out of the car and met you in the parking lot,
Yeah,
I
so-
fucked the shit out of me.
Nick showed up in the parking lot right when we were about to get sushi, and I'm always used to seeing Nick either A, drunk and like out of his mind, or B, he's in like his softball gear, just in game mode. But when Nick showed up to meet us for sushi, he was in like full business attire, like vest, tie,
Not a
shirt,
vest.
like
Sweater.
sweater.
Sweater vest went out in the 90s.
Anyway, he was layered with the business, and he was looking really sexy, and he keeps saying that I fucked him, and
You did.
I don't think I fucked him.
So if you recall that dinner, like it was basically three of us, but it was a two-way conversation.
I do remember that dinner for some reason. Like, we started talking, and I like could not stop just looking at you. And I don't know what it was. Like, the stars aligned that night, and I still to
Yeah.
this day don't know why I invited you.
And then,
but
then we had our first real date.
then you asked
which
me
went
on our
amazing.
first. Yeah, it did, because he asked me out on February 14th, and I didn't realize it was Valentine's Day, and I also didn't realize it was his birthday. So the joke was on me. But yeah,
It was a funny joke too.
then after our first date, I have to say, like, it was just all down. I won't say downhill. It was all uphill. I don't know.
It's all uphill.
It's all
Downhill.
It's
I don't know.
I don't know.
It was all gravy.
It was just, we knew.
Yeah, I knew. I definitely knew.
Oh, and I never knew what that meant. Like, oh, like, when you know, you know. And I was like, shit, now I know what that is. Like, when we had our first date, I was like, dang.
It was the first date that I went on that I was completely comfortable being myself, and I think you were too.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I didn't have to, act a certain way or anything like that. We were goofy. You made the joke, hey, you got a birthday coming up? And I was like, yeah, it's today. And like, you were just completely genuine that whole date. And like, we'll have to get into like in another episode, like that whole story, maybe. Or if people go to our Facebook page, you can read the story.
It's on the Facebook page. Oh, I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know.
That's the only reason I'm on Facebook. But yeah, no, that's all she wrote. And that's why we're here today.
It all started
talking
with
to you lovely people.
Drunken makeouts, and
Yes.
we're here today with our little baby girl. It's so crazy.
All right, here's another good question from Brittany. What's a big dream or goal you are working towards? Jilly.
So I kind of broke it down because I have a family goal, I have a couple goal, and I have a personal goal.
Okay, you went
So
deep.
I did. So I think our family goal is just to save money for retirement and travel. Because right now I feel like we want to make the most out of life, and we want to experience a lot. And I'm not saying we can't experience a lot here, but I want to experience a lot in other places as well. So I think right now our goal is to just be very intentional with how we are prioritizing our money and where we're investing it. And that's why we hired a financial advisor to help us get to that goal, to help us be less stressed about retirement and just feeling comfortable about doing what we want to do.
Well, I'm glad that we're aligned on this, because my first one was financial independence, so that we can do our things, like we can do our vacations and whatnot. So I'm glad we're aligned there. And for these questions, we talk about the questions, but we don't talk about our answers. So that way, it's genuine in our conversation. So I'm glad we're on the same page with our finances.
Yeah.
All right. What's your next one?
So my couple goal for us is to consistently plan date nights and short getaways. So it's just time for us to.
Yeah.
And one action step that I've taken to help make this couple goal even more clear is that I ordered this calendar that's a year view, so I can see all of the months of the year, and we're going to intentionally plan like weekends that we want to have short getaways, or that just to plan date night, so that way we have the support needed to watch Lucille, because I really think that alone time is super, super important. And we're going to have the money for it. So I want to just plan it out ahead of time. So that way, like, look, there's no ands, ifs, or buts. Like, we're making time for a 2-day getaway here or a 1-night getaway here. Like, that's really important for me. And I think it's important for us. And it just kind of helps refill us back up and just kind of remember what it was like before having a baby.
Yeah.
Like, we love Lucille, but I think it's important that you do reminders that take you back to like why you are with your partner to begin with.
Yeah, and I think the way we broke it down, with our budget is, we can probably do a short getaway every other month, and then have one big vacation, per year.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to do.
Yep, that's our couple goal.
All right.
My personal goal is just to keep pumping and consuming positive information to help me be a kinder and more patient person, and just overall just to love more. Like, so I'm just trying to consume daily podcasts, books, inspirational quotes, anything I can get my hands on, just to train my brain to be open and to think positively, and I guess, to be so strong that even when people come at me with negativity or with comments that that aren't aligned to my values, I'm just going to stand up for what I believe in and not be afraid to say anything. I think before, like, I would hear comments or negative things and I would just be silent. I think there's times to be silent and there's times to just speak up in a positive way. And I'm learning to be braver. So I just want to keep consuming that positive and inspirational information that is making me be braver and just not being afraid to speak up about what I believe in.
That's awesome. I've got one more goal, and for me, it's a parent goal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think that's the missing link there. But it really piggybacks on what you just said, and that is raising Lucille to see the good in life and in people. And I think what you just said there is going to be the way that we're going to be role models to her. So if she sees that, we're being positive, that we're spreading love, she's going to end up being a good person too. And like, that's all that we can ask of our kids, is that they grow up to, that they're happy with what they do, and they see the good in life and they're enjoying life, and, they see the good in people and want to help people. So that's my goal as a parent.
I didn't even think about that. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess our personal goals are aligned to our parent goals, because what Lucille is going to see and what she's around and is ultimately what, she's going to pick up on and model after. So
yeah.
Good call, baby.
Perfect. Well, we have one final question that we're going to dive into, and this is from The Tall Season. And it says, favorite local kid-friendly picks, restaurant outings, etc.
I wanted to save this one for last because I know not everybody lives in Maryland.
Yes, this is a Maryland thing.
So we live in between Baltimore and Annapolis, which is pretty convenient. So I jotted down some of our favorite local places that we've taken Lucille. But ultimately, I feel like as long as we're near something that has areas where you can walk or explore, we're okay taking Lucille there.
On the count of 3, say the first thing that you have down there. 1, 2, 3.
Kinder Park. Oh my gosh. So
okay. I knew for some reason we were on the same page. Again, we do not share answers.
I know.
Kinder Park.
I feel like we're on a dating game. The closest park to us is Kinder Park, and it's not a huge park, but it's
fun.
It's a perfect park with like a cute trail. They have animals. They have playgrounds.
There's goats, cows.
I know.
There's trails.
It's pretty cute.
There's baseball fields, lacrosse fields. I mean,
soccer fields.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think there's a loop. The loop around it is like 3 miles total. So it's not a huge park, but I mean, it's just laid out perfect. There's disc golf there. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
There's pavilions that have picnics. A really nice playground. So yeah, it's just a really cool place to go to.
Yeah, we're lucky that we live so close to it.
We could walk there if we wanted to. We usually drive there so that we can do all our walking there. But when Lucille gets older, maybe we'll bike there. Maybe we'll do a huge walk down to there. But it's definitely in Anne Arundel County. That's a great place to take a kid.
So as far as restaurants, one of the first ones on my list is Wegmans, just because it's so convenient to have all of these varieties of food that you can choose from, and it's like Lucille can eat it, I can eat it, and they're healthy choices too, and they have a lot of seating, and if it's raining, I can just go there, eat, and then Lucille and I can walk around inside Wegmans, because Wegmans is huge. So we've been there a couple times for lunch dates, and I really enjoy taking her there.
I really said any place with a high chair. Like,
That's
I don't
true.
know. I mean, maybe we're just blessed with a daughter who's actually pretty decent when we go out. It may change when she gets older. But for now, like, she's good at any place that has a high chair that's not a high-end restaurant. And
I
even
agree.
still, like, when we were down in Asheville last year, we took her to a pretty, I wouldn't say high-scale restaurant, but it was pretty, baller. And she did a great job as a 3-month-old. But even to this day, like, we keep her entertained. She loves crayons. If the place has crayons and stuff like that, and spoons,
Plastic
napkins,
bags.
anything she can drop on the floor that Dad has to pick up, we're good.
Pretty much, if it's not a children's toy. She likes it.
Yeah.
I also put here Grump's Cafe
Yes.
in Crofton because they have outdoor seating, and we actually just went there with my mom, and I love going out there and just sitting outside and eating. It's hard sometimes to find outdoor seating that's not super crowded, but they have high chairs and good food, and Grump's Cafe definitely has that. So we really enjoy going there for breakfast.
Pennsylvania Dutch Market too. We've gone there a couple of times with her.
We have.
Yeah.
Another place that I wanted to shout out to, there's a place in Annapolis that we went for lunch. It's called Potato Valley Cafe. And we went there, and I was not sure what I was expecting, but they have all these assortments of different kind of toppings you can put on baked potatoes. And we went in there and ordered lunch, and the lunch was delicious. But like as we're ordering, you know, they saw Lucille, and I was like, can I get this on mine so that way like Lucille can eat some? And she said, hey, do you want me to make like a baby plate for free for her? And I was like, you guys would do that? And they're like, yeah, we'll make a little plate of food for her. So they made this like adorable little kid plate for free for Lucille. It was like avocado, black beans, chicken, this like some kind of salsa and relish, and it was really, really thoughtful that they just did that for free. So definitely, if you're ever in Annapolis, check out that place for lunch.
Tight. And I was going to say a couple places that I think you're going to go to this summer with her. You know, pool, probably the aquarium, maybe the zoo, Baltimore Zoo. You'll probably go on hikes to some of the places around here. You know, we have a Bob stroller, so that's pretty durable. So I'm sure you've got a lot of things on your mind for this summer to take her as well.
Yeah, and I'm also still new at this game, so if anyone has recommendations, please shout out to me if you're in the local area.
Yeah, and if anybody has any additional questions they'd like to ask us on future episodes, get those questions ready. We'll be happy to answer them for you. But that kind of does our Q&A session. Jilly, let's move on to that quote of the day.
Quote of the day. All right, this was hard.
Oh, that's what she said.
So I have 2 quotes just because I thought you would make fun of me. No, I thought you'd make fun of me at the first one just because who it's from.
Oh.
So the first quote is from Good Housekeeping.
I'm not even going to go there.
But I really liked it. Happiness is letting go of what you think your life is supposed to look like.
I like it.
So I have a backup one too, just because I thought you were going to give me crap.
Well, all you think of is Step Brothers with Good Housekeeping.
What? Wait, what part?
Favorite non-pornographic magazine to jack off to.
Good Housekeeping.
Anyways, what's the second one?
The second one is happiness is an inside job.
It is an inside job.
And that quote is by William Arthur Ward.
I like them both. Nice job, Jilly.
And
so what are we taking action
on? Just to be authentically you and don't deviate from what you think is right, and just, I don't know, like, do you, man.
Yeah. Do you.
I feel like I'm not really inspirational right now because we just did Q&A, so it's like our topic was like all over the place, but
yeah, be comfortable in your own skin. Do you. All that good stuff.
That sounds like a horrible quote book.
Hannibal Lecter.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Where did Hannibal Lecter come from?
Be comfortable in your own skin.
Oh, man. You just brought it down.
I did. Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of fun for us. It's always nice to be able to talk directly and answer fans' questions. So if you have any questions for us, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You know, we'd be happy to mingle with you.
Wait, did you just call them our fans?
I guess. Our listeners, fans, whatever you want to call them.
I don't know.
You're just joning
on
me
right now. I'm sorry.
I
just thought it was cute that you called them our fans.
Yeah. I like that. Well, anyways. Thank you guys for listening. It was a lot of fun today. We will talk to you again next week.
See you later, guys.
We want to thank everybody for listening today. Please be sure to subscribe and sign up to receive notifications so you know when the next episode is live. If you like today's episode and know someone who could benefit from the topic we covered, please share it with them. And if you have any suggestions for us or want to chime in on today's topic, you can email us at simplifiedchaospodcast@gmail.com, and that's chaos with a K, or send us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time.